discusses movies. Be aware that it may discuss any of the following elements: endings, surprise twists, unexpected cameos, and all manner of spoilers. If this doesn't appeal to you, why listen to a movie podcast? Without further ado, please enjoy our feature presentation, The Shameless Picture Show.
All right, we are officially recording. So, I don't have an intro for this yet. It's all so. Let me bastardize an intro, and then I'll explain what's going on. Hello, and welcome to a Patreon edition of the Shameless Picture Show. That, as of right now, I'm just calling "Cage is the Rage." It is something that kind of started as a joke between Amanda and I, my beautiful and talented wife Amanda, where we had decided to try to watch every single Nicolas Cage movie in chronological order. Is that kind of how you remember it?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. We just were talking about how crazy it's been. I think we started this idea after we watched Moonstruck.
Yeah.
And just how he was weird then, but he's progressively gotten weirder.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of honestly how it came to be, where actually, you could probably move it a little closer. Sorry. If you guys, those of you who are listening, we have a very weird mic setup because I only have one microphone for this setup. So what we are doing right now is I have a mic arm attached to our dining coffee table in the living room. I have one microphone split between us, and we're just staring. We're just sitting here looking into each other's eyes on the couch. The dogs are also here. So if it doesn't have our normal like pop in terms of audio, it's because I'm actively adjusting the gain for two people, and we're sharing one microphone, so there's going to be very little editing involved. So if you hear me going up and down, it's because I'm actively adjusting the gain to get good for my level, so I'm not peaking, and that it's loud enough so that way Amanda can sit comfortably and she can also sound good as well.
Yeah, I don't talk as loud as you, sorry.
No, it's fine. If anything, I should probably move back from the mic a little bit. So this is going to be a little more off the cuff. It's not going to be as in-depth as some of the episodes we do with Nick. And for those of you listening, so like I said, this is normally going to be a Patreon exclusive. But for this first episode, maybe even the second, I haven't decided yet, we're going to give it to you guys for free. And that way, if you like this format, head on over to Patreon. For as low as $5 a month, you can get the bonus stuff, some stickers, and some other cool shit. So if you're interested, come give it a listen. But this first one for you is free. So for the episode today, we are going to be discussing two films. And the reason being is because, so I should probably just bury the lead. And so today we're going to be discussing Amy Heckerling's Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and then Martha Coolidge's Valley Girl. The reason we are starting here is because technically, is Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I believe, is Nicolas Cage's, back when he was known as Nicholas Coppola's, first on-screen movie. He did a television pilot before this with Crispin Glover, which we had not gotten a chance to watch yet. That might pop up in a future episode.
I forget, why did we not watch it yet?
We just haven't gotten to it. We just kept putting it off.
I thought we couldn't find it for a minute.
No, it's on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
It's on YouTube. It's like 45 minutes. I think it was a pilot. I don't know if it ever aired, but it's on YouTube. Crispin Glover and Nicholas Coppola. The reason I say technically first film is because I'm going off of IMDb in terms of what his credits are and in what order. If you use Letterboxd and search Nicolas Cage and search by earliest first, it technically has one title prior, a movie with Robert Redford called Brubaker. I'm assuming it's an even smaller role than he had in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But if he's technically in it, he might also be uncredited, which is the reason it might not show up in IMDb. I don't know. Technically, Letterboxd says Brubaker is Nicolas Cage's first role. We're not talking about Brubaker. We're barely talking about Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but it is, in my mind, his first theatrical performance in all 30 Seconds of Glory. So we're counting that, and we're going to move on from there. So, I don't know, maybe down the road, if we ever decide to watch Brubaker, we will cross that bridge when we get there, but same thing with the pilot episode. But for right now, these are what we're going to talk about. As I said before, this is completely off the cuff. I don't have an intro written like I normally do, anything like that. So what I figured I would do is I own both Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Valley Girl. So I figured I would just do what I do for my physical media reviews, and I'd read off the back. Do you have any complaints about that?
No, works for me.
So I figured what we would do is we'd start with Fast Times at Ridgemont High, because there's not a whole lot to talk about in terms of caginess.
No.
But I feel like it's still worth talking about.
Does he even talk in that movie?
He does not. All right, so we watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High off the Criterion edition. As I said, it was directed by Amy Heckerling. It's also worth noting that both of these films are directed by women, which I dig. So back of the box for the Criterion Collection says, the world, and this is for Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the wild world of adolescence has rarely been captured with as sharp an observational eye as in this refreshingly smart, frank spin on the teen comedy by director Amy Heckerling and screenwriter Cameron Crowe, for each of whom it kicked off a hugely successful film career. Based on Crowe's experiences going undercover as a student at a Southern California high school, Fast Times at Ridgemont High blends hormone-fueled hilarity with an almost sociological examination of the 1980s teenage experience. The shopping mall hangouts, fast food jobs, buzzkill teachers, awkward dates, and first experiences of love and sex. The pop culture touchstone launched to stardom practically an entire cast of unknowns, including Jennifer Jason Leigh, Phoebe Cates, Judge Reinhold, Forrest Whitaker, Anthony Edwards, Eric Stoltz, and Sean Penn as stoner icon Jeff Spicoli, and broke new ground in its raw yet sensitive depiction of the realities of coming of age. So as I said, with Fast Times at Ridgemont High, there's not a whole lot to talk about with Nicolas Cage. He has one moment. I think he's credited as Brad's bud. And that could even be...
Wasn't there 2 scenes he technically was in? Because I thought you saw him once initially, but then don't you see him again?
Yeah, he gets a close-up in the movie, and then I think he shows... I think he's like in the background somewhere in a school scene. His iconic moment in this scene is when Brad, played by Judge Reinhold, goes off on a customer who is upset about his breakfast because it's not the best breakfast he's ever had. He wanted his money back, and Brad couldn't figure out the cash register and everything, and he went off on this fucking dude. And then it cuts to Nicolas Cage just like staring blankly at the screen, and then it cuts away. And that's...
See, I thought he was in a scene before that, also in the restaurant.
And maybe he was.
I thought there was one before that where he was just kind of standing in the background at the restaurant.
And he very well could have been.
That one, because
could have just been an extra as well. Like I said, in terms of Nicolas Cage performance, there's not much there to analyze. There's not much there to talk about. It is worth noting that this is the last performance that he goes by Nicholas Coppola before he changes his name. And he changes his name because he was made fun of so much on this movie for being the nephew of director Francis Ford Coppola.
He was made fun of so much for being on the movie for like 2 minutes.
Well, not for being on the movie.
No, I know, but like he was only on the movie for like 2 minutes, so he wasn't actually like on set very much, and he was made fun of so much in that small amount of time that he changed his name.
Apparently, he says Eric Stoltz made fun of him.
Poor guy.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz, who, if anyone has seen the movie Mask with Cher about Rocky Denison, he has a deformed face. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Eric Stoltz made fun of him enough that he decided to change his acting name.
Did he legally change his name to Cage? Like, is he even Nicholas Coppola anymore?
I don't know. Let's all check the most reliable source in the world, and let's check Wikipedia and see what Wikipedia says. So his full name is Nicholas Kim Coppola. And Kim, born January 7th, 1964, known professionally as Nicolas Cage.
So maybe he didn't. Maybe it is just a stage name.
Yeah, so... But as I said, there's not a lot to talk about in terms of Nicolas Cage, but this was your first time seeing Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I thought we had watched it one time prior. Maybe I had watched it myself and thought you had seen it.
I might have watched it with you. I don't really remember.
So what's your take on Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
I mean, it was a lot of fun. Like, I guess, like, it was a good comedy. I don't really have any, like... I didn't really take notes on that one.
That's all right.
When we were watching it.
Yeah, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, It is a pretty iconic film. Like, if you watch anything that's like... You remember that TV show, like, I Love the 80s?
No.
Well, there was a show on VH1 called I Love the 80s, and their whole thing was, they talk about, like, each year of the 80s and talk about some iconic things. And anytime you watch any retrospective of the 80s or 80s cinema, that scene of, like, dream sequence of Phoebe Cates coming out of the swimming pool in slow motion is, like, always included. So it's iconic for that. And it's also weird seeing Phoebe Cates as being, like, the promiscuous one in the movie, because, like, she was so sweet in Gremlins, and it's a very different role.
Yeah.
And then, like, Judge Reinhold, me and you both love Judge Reinhold.
It was weird seeing him in such, like, teenage role. Because I feel like most of the times that when I think of him, I think of things when he's older.
Which, it's funny, he also doesn't look that much younger.
He doesn't look any different, to be honest, like, at all. And he kind of just acts the same, too, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting... I've always loved Judge Reinhold, but it's just Judge Reinhold is just kind of plays Judge Reinhold.
Yeah.
Even like in Gremlins, in his one small little part where he's like the douchey guy.
I always forget he's in Gremlins.
Yeah, he has that great line, "Hey, it's Cable," when he's trying to get Phoebe Cates to come back to his apartment. But like, I feel like a lot of people, if they don't think of his run in 80s movies, probably think of him in the Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And
with
then
his magnificent sweaters.
Oh my God, he's such great sweaters. And then he becomes such a likable character as those movies go on.
I know. You really hate him in the beginning, and then just as time goes on,
It's also funny that we hate him because, like, Scott Calvin in that movie is the worst is not the worst father in the world, but, like, he's
pretty shitty.
He's a pretty shitty dad, and Judge Reinhold is just trying to do what's best for Charlie, but yet we still don't side with Judge Reinhold.
Yeah, but it's generally frowned upon unless, like, the parent is abusive to, like, not let there be any relationship with the father. That's fair. Especially if the kid wants it. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's why is, like, Charlie does want to hang out with his dad.
That's fair.
To some extent. I feel like he's always disappointed, but that's a lesson he has to learn on his own, and having your stepfather force you to not spend time with your dad is not going to teach him that lesson.
That's a fair point. Yeah, and it's also funny too, like with Judge Reinhold in this film. It's that, like, this movie doesn't really have a main character. Like, I feel like each kind of character has their little moments. And like when you first meet Brad, his character, he's like this kind of douchey dude who's like kind of breaking up with his girlfriend because he wants to leave himself open for other opportunities, and he's got like everything. And then it just steadily all falls apart for him. But then it also works out for him in the end, when he stops that burglar by throwing hot coffee on him.
Yeah.
But he also has a really nice moment with his younger sister where, like, he doesn't tell the parents about the abortion that she had. And it's also crazy, too. Like, this movie it's rather timely with everything going on with the world and Roe v. Wade being overturned, because, like, this movie is a beloved 80s staple, and a big portion of the plot is tied around an abortion.
That's true.
Weird. So I just had to pause for a second because we lost our microphone, so I tried to make that as seamless as possible. And I said weird because I kept hearing the metronome in my headset, and it threw me for a second. But yeah, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, it manages to... It's very quotable. It's still really funny, I think. But it also has something to say, or maybe not necessarily. It doesn't feel like it has something to say in that, like, it's trying to, like, force a message down your throat. But I think it's trying to be candid about things that teenagers go through. Teenagers' lives. At times it's fun and everything, and other times it's it's not.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and it's also interesting too. Like, so Cameron Crowe, who wrote this movie, would go on to be a pretty big name. Like, he directed Almost Famous, which we watched not too long ago. Wasn't your first time? You had seen it with me before one time.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's kind of crazy that, like, so that story is semi-autobiographical, that he went on tour with a band for Rolling Stone when he was still a high schooler. Mm-hmm. And then I also love that seemingly after high school, he went undercover into a high school and wrote this book.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting. And I also love, like I said, top of the episode, that we have two seminal 80s California comedies directed by women.
Yeah.
So we don't have as much to talk about in terms of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but before we move on to the next movie, was there anything else you wanted to talk about Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Don't think so.
All right, so like I said, as a Nicolas Cage film, it's a great movie. It's not a great Nicolas Cage film because he's barely in it. I feel like this movie could have used more Nicolas Cage. I can't picture anyone else playing Jeff Spicoli, but that could have been interesting, Nicolas Cage playing Jeff Spicoli. But, that's my only complaint against it. In terms of our theme of Cage is the Rage, there's a significant lack of Nicolas Cage.
Fair.
I have to have some sort of rating system for this show. All right, so that's Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Next, we have his first starring role, also the movie where he adopted the Nicolas Cage moniker. We have one of my all-time favorite movies, directed by Martha Coolidge, Valley Girl. This one we had watched from Shout Factory. They're part of their Shout Select line. I was really happy when this came out because I just had kind of a so-so DVD copy of this movie for years. So the back of the box first starts off with a review from Roger Ebert that says, "This movie is a little treasure, a funny, sexy, appealing story of a Valley Girl's heartbreaking decision." I imagine the sexy part is just Nicolas Cage's chest hair. All right. The description says, Nicolas Cage and Deborah Foreman star in the totally awesome comedy Valley Girl. There's an exclamation point, so I had to raise my voice. When Julie, played by Deborah Foreman from April Fool's Day and My Chauffeur, dumps her preppy boyfriend, the last thing she expects is to find love with the rough and rockin' Randy, played by Nicolas Cage. Funny enough, the movie they use in his descriptor, what movie he's from, is Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah, I remember noticing that. But to be fair, they didn't have a whole lot else to choose from.
It's true, but considering this was made, this disc was put out now and this description was written now, they could have been Nicolas Cage from The Rock or Nicolas Cage from any other movie that Nicolas Cage put out since this came out.
Do they usually do that? I feel like I didn't realize that they would reference.
They usually put a lot of times, unless it's the description was written back. Now, if this would have come out back on VHS, maybe they probably would have put something that was relevant for the time. But usually, in a movie that's been out for a while, they'll put whatever that actor's best known for.
Huh.
I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to go for movies around the same time period. I don't know. It's a weird choice considering he's barely in it. But anyways, when her Valley Gal pals find Randy grody to the max, she's caught up in the culture clash between her totally tubular lifestyle and her hot Hollywood punk. Oh my god. It's all one word. Featuring a so bitchin' soundtrack packed with new wave hits, Valley Girl is a sweetly romantic slice of 80s nostalgia. Are you going to love it? We're so sure. So, Valley Girl. Nicholas, this is our first look into the actor that Nicolas Cage would eventually become, and it's kind of an interesting one for him because I feel like he's still kind of finding his footing. Yeah,
he's not as crazy as he becomes in a relatively short amount of time. Just this versus Moonstruck. I know we haven't seen Rumblefish, which comes next.
Yeah,
but just Moonstruck, he kind of, you could see inklings of the crazy actor he becomes. But in Valley Girl, he's not that weird.
No, he also doesn't feel like a leading man.
No, he's very timid. I feel like, and I don't know. One of the things that made me laugh when they were doing the montage of them falling in love, he just kind of looked uncomfortable, even though he was supposed to be falling in love at the time.
Well, I listened to an interview with Nicolas Cage on this disc. Martha Coolidge interviews him. And he actually says he had a huge crush on Deborah Foreman while they were making this film. Oh. So in a lot of scenes, he felt kind of awkward around her because they had to do all these scenes where they're close together, and he legitimately had a crush on her.
Oh, man. That would definitely make it awkward.
Yeah. And I just thought that was kind of a sweet story, that some of these emotions were real, and I think maybe that's why this movie sticks with me so much.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about Nicolas Cage a little more in depth here in a moment. But what did you think of Valley Girl? It's a movie you've seen quite a few times because of me. But
yeah,
what did you think rewatching at this most recent time?
It's a lot of fun. It's goofy in the way they talk. I mean, that's never gonna not make me laugh. But it's, you know, a sweet rom-com.
You have a star-making performance by Tommy Pickles.
Yeah, which is so weird.
I love E.G. Daily. She's great in anything she pops up in.
Yeah.
But no, it's one thing I liked about Valley Girl, and it actually kind of reminded me of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Well, I'd say Valley Girl is a bit more focused than Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yeah, I still kind of like that it was kind of like a meandering kind of almost hangout movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, yes, we are focused on the character of Randy and Julie. Couldn't remember her name for a second. We're focused on their relationship. I would say first and foremost, but like we do get time with these other characters. Like we get time with Julie's if you heard that loud sigh, that is our youngest dog, Vincent Price. He's laying on the couch because he wants to be near us, and he's sleeping or trying to sleep while we're doing this. But anyone who's listened to the show for a while is used to hearing the dogs.
Yeah.
So we're focused on Julie and Randy, but like we do get stuff with Julie's ex-boyfriend and how shitty he is.
Yeah, he's terrible.
And he manipulates E.G. Daly's character and makes her feel so shitty, even though he's the one that like came onto her.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, that whole thing just made me so mad. Like, obviously, as someone's friend, it would be really shitty to sleep with their ex regardless, but the fact that he took that and turned it around, and like she was clearly, I don't know, I feel like she was clearly like vulnerable in some ways, just because she seemed like she was the one who didn't have anyone, and she just wanted to be with someone, but like, I don't know, it's just really shitty of him to turn it around on her like that.
And then like I also appreciate her character going throughout the film too, because like Julie's ex-boyfriend, in a way, kind of like blackmailed her and said,
100%.
You know, if anything is found out about this, you know, I'll tell her and everything. So, like, I feel like in a different film, E.G. Daly's character would have been very much like, oh, you need to get back together with him.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of that from her, but she was really the one who was like, if you like Randy, you got to stick with him.
Yeah.
So, like, she was willing to, like, kind of, like, risk her friendship with Julie, knowing that it might come out if this dude gets pissed off, because she knew that Julie liked Randy so much.
Yeah. I guess I didn't really get the impression that she avoided telling Julie what happened because she was afraid. I guess I'm not really sure what I was...
Work through it. Come on, work through it.
Well, I was going to say that I didn't think that... I don't know, like, she clearly is afraid that Julie's going to be upset.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't think that, like, she would have typically been worried about Julie being upset. I think it's the way that Tommy...
His name was Tommy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
The way that Tommy manipulated her that made her fear
That's
that.
fair. That's a good point.
So, you know what I mean? So I feel like she, in a different circumstance, would have told Julie.
Yeah,
the
I think
truth.
so. I think so.
And yeah, I don't really necessarily feel like she deep down thought their friendship was at risk. I think it was just the fear of Tommy manipulating her and how he might spin it.
Yeah, because Tommy was he would have spinned it in some negative way.
Yeah, like he would have been like, oh, she came onto me, and that's not what happened. I mean, he came onto her pretty hard.
Yeah, like,
and she didn't turn him down, but like he was definitely leading it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was just shitty to her, whereas he would have 100% told Julie, you know, your friend came onto me. She was just waiting for us to break up, like, which is a very different
spin. Yeah. Yeah, so like we got part of that. We got that storyline. We have one of Julie's friends and her mom like competing with each other for the same guy.
Oh yeah, her mom who, well, you said it was her stepmom, right?
I got the feeling that she was.
It's hard because like I want to say it's definitely not her mom because of how young she was, but Julie's mom
also
looks like it's her fucking age.
Yeah,
like not even like, oh, she had a kid when she was super young. Like, no, she looks like she's only 5 years older than her daughter.
Yeah, no, exactly. And actually, speaking of Julie's parents, which I love her parents, I think they're great. There is another Francis Ford Coppola connection.
Oh, really?
Julie's dad, I can't think of the actor's name right now, also starred in Apocalypse Now.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So I wonder if Nicolas Cage got any Apocalypse Now jokes while on set.
Maybe.
I don't know. But no, this has always been a movie I've loved. Part of it's the soundtrack. It's got it has one of my favorite fallen in love montages of all time when they're playing Modern English's Melt With You. Mm-hmm. But actually, I still think my favorite needle drop in this entire film is when they are at the club for the first time and the Plimsouls is playing that song A Million Miles Away, and they just kind of have that moment where I think the true fallen in love moment where they're like, they first get their connection.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite like nonverbal storytelling moments in a movie, just bar none. And I also love that they still managed to make Nicolas Cage into like a charming kind of like, I wouldn't say hunky, but I feel like that's what they're trying to like persuade. Because I think he's kind of a dork in this movie.
100%, I agree.
But in a way that works.
You can't look at a man with chest hair like that. And
oh my god, his chest
dork.
It reminds me of like, remember in the Batman Forever, Robin's like out, like the way he has this Robin on his chest. That's what Nicolas Cage's chest hair reminds me of. But like what's so remarkable with the filmmaking and even Nicolas Cage's performance is the fact that it almost feels like Nicolas Cage is doing things that are opposite of what should make a charming, hunky main character, but still comes out on the end looking good. Like the story goes that at the time Nicolas Cage was living in his car. That's the story that I've heard him told. But I don't know. But that's the story I'm going with. That's the story that I was told, that he was living in his car, and every day they were just kind of hoping that he would show up because they had no real way to contact him. And every day he would show up with clothing choices that were his own outfits and a box of like gags to do. So like a lot of that montage of him trying to win Julie back was shit he just came up with. So like when he like comes up to their car, when he's like pretending to be the fry cook and he comes up with those glasses and that voice, that was just a choice that he made. Or the movie theater scene where he's wearing the 3D glasses because he came with a pair of 3D glasses and was just trying to find stuff to get used. So like he's making all these goofy choices, which I think you can definitely see how Nicolas Cage becomes the actor that he does.
Yeah. Because
Nicolas Cage, and people think about like his big outbursts and everything, but when I think of Nicolas Cage, I think of just bold choices. Whether or not they work is a different story, but he's making choices, and usually making choices that other people aren't thinking about. And I feel like you definitely see that playing here.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so you had some notes. What else you got? What else you have on there?
Most of the notes we talked about, except for Fred's bad pickup lines.
Oh.
Do you want to dance? No. Yeah, me neither. I was just taking a poll.
Fred is such a great character. I feel like he had this other great one too. That's like, hi, my name is Fred. I like midnight walks on the beach and tacos.
Yeah. I don't know what this was referencing, but I put something about a mother and the girl says she's dead. For some reason, I wrote that down as one of his pickup lines. And then also, what's your sign? Was one of his pickup lines.
Yeah.
Just like really goofy stuff that you wouldn't expect. Like the sign one is funny because he's like this kind of like alternative punk guy, and he's going up to people. What's your sign?
Yeah, like I just feel like he's just trying things.
Yeah,
but Fred's also a great friend too because he's constantly there for Nicolas Cage's character. But one thing I also liked about this movie too is I feel like I love that this movie is sympathetic towards both sides of the spectrum in terms of who these characters are. You know, I feel like a lot of movies you'd have Randy's character, and this is how Randy views the world. He's like, you know, you guys are all fake and we're real and everything. But then like, and that's just perspective the movie would give. But I also love that Julie fights back on that. It's like, how are you any different than me? You just dress differently, you talk differently, but what you want out of life is the exact same stuff that I want out of life.
Yeah.
And I definitely, and I feel like one can make this comparison anytime there's a movie about two people falling in love, but I definitely can feel the Romeo and Juliet influences that Martha Coolidge is pulling from this. You know, you have these two almost warring families that don't want them to be together, and they're looking for any excuse to do it.
I can see that. And
like, what's so interesting to watch this movie is, like I said, I think Deborah Foreman is a extremely underrated actress. She makes her and E.G. Daily make their really ridiculous dialogue work and feel natural. It doesn't feel like E.G. Daily, especially. It never feels like she's winking at the camera. But look how weird I'm talking. Like, it just feels like so natural for them.
Yeah.
But what's so fun to watch is also just the way that Nicolas Cage kind of takes over a space. Like, he can make being bored sitting in a shower really amusing.
Yeah.
Because he's just making choices.
Right.
And it's great to see him and Deborah Foreman act off each other, because Nicolas Cage just feels kind of like, even though he's not as wild as he eventually gets in something like Mandy or you know, something like that, he is still kind of an all over the place actor.
Yeah.
And Deborah Foreman definitely doesn't come off that way, but it almost feels like she reins him in and makes him better. Yeah. And because that's one thing I feel like we're going to note. I've noticed this with Nicolas Cage's career, and I feel like we're going to notice these trends as we go along this journey, that I feel like, because Nicolas Cage has given great performances in bad movies, he's given bad performances in great movies, so on and so forth, and I think it really comes down to who he's working with, because he seems like an actor that really plays off the other people around him. Yeah. And then who's directing him? Is someone reining him in? Right. And granted, this is early on. You know, I don't know what Nicolas Cage is like. You know, maybe he has an ego, maybe he doesn't. But I'm sure it's a lot harder to rein in Nicolas Cage now. You know, you get Nicolas Cage in a movie, you have a bona fide fucking movie star. Yeah. These early performances, he's just a young, hungry actor wanting to get work. Right. So I'm kind of interested to see kind of where this shift is. Because, like, one of the things, the reason we wanted to start this is we both have different perspectives of Nicolas Cage and who he is. Because you look at Nicolas Cage now, and he's almost a caricature. Not in a bad way, but he's definitely viewed at in a very different way. And there's even with the projects he chooses. Yeah. Then you have my first experience of Nicolas Cage, which was him being like the 90s leading man, like back when he'd be on like Esquire magazine, like of like the lists of sexiest men or something, like, which is just, it seems like a far cry from who Nicolas Cage is now, where he's doing stuff like The Rock and these big blockbuster films. And then your experience with Nicolas Cage was the National Treasure movies, and then
which he's weird in, but he's not like,
he's actually very like kind of subdued. Yeah. And then you have like these young roles. It's like, it's almost like
and Ghost Rider.
Yeah, fucking Ghost Rider.
I was obsessed with that movie. I think that's the like movie where I had a crush on Nick Cage.
Really, Ghost Rider?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then like, you just have like, and now I almost call it like his pre-teeth Nicolas Cage, because like his teeth are wild in this film. He hasn't had them fixed yet, so like he's very clearly Nicolas Cage. It just feels like he's picked the name. He hasn't quite figured out the persona yet.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But it's like, it's kind of crazy. Like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, while he wasn't in very much of, was a big hit. Yeah. And then, you know, I assume, I don't know, but I assume like they didn't just, you know, pick Nicolas Cage for Valier. I'm sure he had to audition and everything, and I would love to see what his early audition tapes were like. Yeah. Like But it's kind of crazy to go from an unaired television pilot, which, yes, you are the star of, you and Crispin Glover, who at the time was an up-and-coming actor. You know, he hadn't done Back to the Future yet or anything like that, but he was also an actor known for making really weird choices. Actually, Robert Zemeckis tells a story on Back to the Future where he was so wild with his performance, he would constantly walk in and out of frame, so they had to put like a little box around him so that way they could pretty much guarantee that he would stay in place.
That's funny.
So I was like, that's one of the reasons I want to watch it, because it's like you have two actors who would later be known as very wild actors in a pilot together.
Yeah.
But what is that like?
Yeah.
And then, you know, he has a small bit part in Fast Times, and then he goes to having a starring role. And it's pretty much off to the races since then. I don't know how big his role is in Rumblefish or any of the movies coming up, but it's a pretty big, like, I don't know what kind of business Valley Girl did when it came out, but it's considered a cult favorite now. And like I said, it's two seminal 80s teen movies to kick off Cage's The Rage with.
Yeah.
So one last thing I did want to talk about, since we're going to, you know, neither of us are actors, but we're going to do our best to try to analyze the performances of Nicolas Cage and kind of figure out trends and, you know, try to find hallmarks that his performances are known for and kind of see if we can trace back to when they started. It was really fun. Very recently, we actually saw Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. And while watching it, Amanda actually had said that she's like, you know who he reminds me of? And she was referring to Austin Butler playing Elvis. So who Elvis reminds her, she's like, he reminds me a lot of Nicolas Cage. And I remember looking at him and he goes, yeah, you have now figured out kind of the essence of Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. I just never realized how wild Elvis was, nor did I know that Nick Cage liked Elvis to the point that he married Elvis's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, none of that. I didn't know any of that. Just watching that movie and that actor play Elvis, I was like, man,
I'm like,
he just reminds me of Nick Cage.
And now you just because like when you think of Nicolas, like I just think of like little things like Gone in 60 Seconds, where like some of the things he does with his hands.
Yeah.
It's like, that's just Elvis moves right there.
Yes. I feel like that movie, while Nick Cage wasn't in it, gave me an understanding of Nick Cage that I had been lacking.
So we're also going to be tracking the gradual progression of Nicolas Cage as Elvis as this show goes on.
I feel like in Valley Girl, he's like a 1 out of 10 on the Elvis scale.
Yeah, it's almost interesting. Like he's doing some interesting things with his performance in Valley Girl, where there's so many times where he's kind of just brooding. Like after him and Julie break up, and he's just kind of hanging around the club and just like he's just this brooding actor, this brooding character. But then also I love how like goofy he is. Like when he's first driving Julie through downtown Hollywood, and he's just like, he knows everyone. Yeah. And just the shit that he's saying.
Yeah.
And it's great to watch that scene too, because I don't think anyone else in the scene knows what he's doing or what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
But it also has one of my all-time favorite lines in this movie. When Julie's friend doesn't want to get out of the car, and he's like, "Well, when they come for the car, protect the radio."
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's great. Like I said, it's also interesting to see like that he is so young. This is such an early role for him, and yet he's like, I don't know what Nicolas Cage's acting experience is. Like, I don't know if he studied it, if he went to school for it, if it's something he decided he wanted to start doing. And maybe I'll watch some interviews with Nicolas Cage and try to put that together as this show goes on. But it's just interesting that he feels like, while he's not Nicolas Cage as we know it now, he is a fully formed actor at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Like, for it being so young, like, he is a good actor.
Yeah, and he could have continued that trajectory and still been a really good actor.
I don't think he would have become as iconic.
No, but it's interesting to see like where he goes with all of this. Like, because even you look at something like Moonstruck, which we're not quite there yet. That's a good while from this film still. Maybe I think it's like 8 films from there.
Really? 8?
I think so. Maybe something like that. And even the way he's acting in that, where he's more cagey than he is in Valley Girl, he's still not quite there yet. It's interesting. Are you looking him up?
I'm looking up where he is, or where Moonstruck is.
So what is the name of that pilot I keep referencing?
The Best of Times?
The Best of Times with Crispin Glover. We will eventually get to that.
Nicholas as Nicholas Coppola.
His character's name is Nicholas.
Why does it as Nicholas Coppola?
Because at the time, his stage name is Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I get it now. Okay.
Yeah.
So, got it. Okay, so yeah, Valley Girl, then Rumblefish, Racing with the Moon, The Cotton Club, Birdie. Okay, you're right. The Boy in Blue, Peggy Sue Got Married.
Oh, I'm excited to go back
Arizona,
to Peggy Sue Got Married.
And then Moonstruck. So yeah, you're right. That is quite a lot.
I feel like, and
surprisingly though, it's only 4 years.
That's a lot of roles in 4 years.
Yeah, because Valley Girl is 83, Moonstruck is 87.
I feel like I remember, and I will try to confirm this story before we get to Moonstruck. I feel like I remember when Cher found out Nicolas Cage was going to be in the movie, she went out and rented Peggy Sue Got Married. Can you imagine, like, being like, okay, let me see what this other actor I'm going to be in this movie is like, and you fucking rent Peggy Sue Got Married. Like, I love Peggy Sue Got Married, but Nicolas Cage is doing a weird fucking performance in that movie.
I don't remember him in that movie.
He's doing like a Donald Duck voice the entire movie.
Okay.
But in such an earnest way. And then I'm excited because like I've seen Rumblefish years ago.
Yeah.
Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, his uncle. And then pretty much everything in between there to about pretty much everything from there to about Peggy Sue Got Married I've never seen. So I've never seen Racing with the Moon, The Cotton Club, Birdie, or The Boy in Blue. So it's going to be fun. This is going to be all new Cage for me.
Yeah.
So real quick, just before we sign off, let's talk a little. I just want to see, like your experience with Nicolas Cage. How just go through his filmography and tell me which movies you've seen. I'm just legitimately curious.
Okay. So obviously, Fast Times and Valley Girl.
You have seen.
Peggy Sue Got Married. Moonstruck.
I lost my hand.
Which I didn't see until recently.
Mm-hmm. You skipped one. Wild at Heart.
Oh yeah, I did see that one. Yeah.
Before the movie theaters reopened, that was the last movie we saw in theaters before before the lockdown.
Okay, I did see that. I don't feel like I think I've seen Family Man. Yeah, I actually really like that movie.
You haven't seen Gone in 60 Seconds?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't think I've seen Christmas Carol the movie, but I've seen so many. And then like National Treasure is kind of like you said where I really associate him as like that's what I know him from.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost Rider, obviously. National Treasure 2.
He's done a lot of movies.
I think I've seen part of The Sorcerer's Apprentice, but I don't think I saw the whole thing.
Okay.
But I remember that one coming out. I actually never saw the sequel to Ghost Rider.
Me neither.
And then...
And you've seen definitely more now.
Yeah. But even now, like, I haven't seen a lot of these.
We watched Mom and Dad together.
That one I liked. Mandy. God, he does so many.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. The amount of movies this guy does in a year, though, is absolutely insane.
He's got to pay for that island somehow. My favorite joke in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is with Nicolas Cage, where he's playing Spider-Noir, and he finally solves a Rubik's Cube, and he goes, "This is so much easier now." Because he lives in a black and white world.
That's right. Color Out of Space. Prisoners of the Ghostland, which I wasn't a fan of.
Pig. Oh. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah, yeah.
God,
but like that's
how many
just,
Croods movies are there? Jesus Christ.
That's just crazy to me that like 2021 he did 3.
Bruce Willis has still got him beat.
2022 he's done 4 already.
Yeah.
Like
that man loves to work.
Also, yes, he needs to afford his island, but he also needs to pay for his frickin' pyramid in Cemetery Number 1 in New Orleans.
All right,
where he had bodies removed.
If anyone out there is listening, I still think the best idea for a National Treasure remake is have it be set in the future, and people are trying to steal some treasure from Nicolas Cage's tomb.
That's amazing.
And through some like mystical mumbo jumbo, bring him back to life.
So, I feel like if you...
Copyright Michael Viers.
I was going to say, I feel like if you write this and you somehow get it to Nick Cage, I feel like there is not a world in which you would say no.
I feel like it could
The issue is funding it.
I feel like it could be a sequel to The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah.
The Unbearable Weight of Massive National Treasure.
That's not a good title.
No, it's not.
That's we gotta work on that.
Like, it's almost like, remember that line from National Treasure where he's like, I have to steal the Declaration of Independence. I just feel like I need to change it out, and like he needs to come back to life and be like, I am the Declaration of Independence. I don't know. I think that's it for this first episode of Cage is the Rage. Where can everyone find you, Amanda, in case people want to follow you on social medias?
I don't post much, but there's Instagram, Amanda R. Viers, I think.
Okay.
And
TikTok? You and the dogs are on TikTok.
Yeah, I guess I am on TikTok. I think that's also Amanda R. Viers. I'm not positive. And
I'm pretty much Michael Viers anywhere you look. Sometimes Michael _Viers. And then Shameless Picture Show is pretty much everywhere. Yeah. We are on TikTok and all that good stuff. I should have a review coming out soon for the Vinegar Syndrome release of Shriek of the Mutilated, which is a crazy Bigfoot film directed by Michael Findlay, shot by his wife, Roberta Findlay, who actually did some porno titles that I reviewed earlier in the history of the Shameless Picture Show. So check that out. And as I said, guys, this first episode, maybe even the second of Cage of the Rage, is going to be free to all of you. But if you want to hear us through our journey of Nicolas Cage, be sure to subscribe to Patreon. I haven't decided if we're going to do 1 or 2 movies every episode. It really just depends on whatever we get through that month.
Yeah.
But next will be Rumblefish, and maybe even whatever comes after Rumblefish. All right, guys, thanks for listening. We'll talk soon.
The Shameless Picture Show is recorded in Milwaukee, Wisconsin and Easton, Maryland, and is hosted and produced by Nick Richards and Michael Viers. Today's episode was edited by Michael Viers. Our opening theme music was written especially for us by The Directionals, with narration by Zach McLean. The end credit music you're enjoying at the moment was generously provided by my friends in the band 10 Speed. The Shameless graphic design is masterfully done by Amanda Viers. An extra special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and to our generous sponsors. We are on Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Google Play, and Libsyn. You can find links for all these amazing people in the description below.